Adam God is one of the recurring themes in fundamentalist hymns. And now we have a hymn tribute to Eliza R. Snow and arranged by Stephen Foster called "Oh My Mother."
A professor at BYU named Christopher Blythe, if that is his real name, Professor Blythe.
The typical paid Mormon apologist associated with BYU.
Creativity, unbound, unshackled. Love to see it.
Welcome back, patrons. I am Dr. Blythe. I am a professor at Brigham Young University and an expert in Latter-day Saint folklore. You know the drill. Every week I talk about a different book or a different document. I want to take a little detour today to look at hymn books, and particularly hymn books published by fundamentalist groups. If you're not familiar, and I can't imagine any person that would tune into this show would not know what fundamentalism is. This is an array of movements that were founded the generation after the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ended plural marriage. We had many families still living, what they called the principle. And in that next generation, those who were raised in those communities, many of them wanted to continue the practice, which means there started to emerge claims to prophetic authority that were perpetuate plural marriage outside the church rather than as part of the official institution. The big name here is Loren C. Woolley. Loren C. Woolley knew John Taylor. John Taylor was the third prophet of the church and had to go into hiding for continuing to promote plural marriage when he was prophet. And Loren Woolley really did have a relationship with John Taylor on what's called the underground during this period that he was in hiding. Out of that experience, Loren Woolley told a lot of stories, including one story that people know as the Loren Woolley story. That's a story about how John Taylor in 1886 first received a revelation and then a visitation from Jesus Christ and Joseph Smith, commanding him to make sure plural marriage continues, but continued outside of the official organization. Over 100 years later, we now have many different organizations that claim to be the inheritor of Loren Woolley's story, of the authority that he received from Joseph Smith and Jesus Christ. I'm going to talk about 3 of those groups today because we're talking about their hymn books. Now, Latter-day Saints have had many hymn books throughout the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Emma Smith famously was in charge of putting together the first hymn book in 1835. By the time we get into the early 1840s, we actually have people getting in trouble for publishing hymn books without official permission. So they were a really big deal. We do see many hymns and poems written in personal journals and diaries. On my other channel, Angels and Seer Stones, we've talked about the folk music collections that came out of early Utah and late Utah. Lots of music and lots of Latter-day Saint themed music. Outside of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of course, the reorganized church continued a tradition of music, but really each of the schismatic movements would publish hymns. They'd often use the hymns that were available from Emma's hymn book and the later editions in the early 1840s. But they would also add their own hymns. And those hymns would usually relate to specific succession claims. William Smith, for example, the prophet's brother, he goes off and founds a church, and the church actually has a song declaring him the modern Elijah. Charles B. Thompson, himself later a prophet, will write a hymn about James Strang and how God's called him as a prophet. It's obviously music's a continuing tradition in most religious movements. Today, the Bickertonites, who we spoke about last month, are known for having a very rich hymn tradition granted by the Spirit. I'm not talking today about the Petersons, but the Petersons also have songs given by the Spirit to a few members of their faith that are used as a hymn book. So what are the books I'm actually speaking about? What are the hymn books? The first is Glorious Things Are Sung of Zion. I received this, I think it was pretty new when it came out. This is probably almost 20 years ago. It was published by Ivan Nielsen. The community, isn't that funny? I think it's Kingdom of God, but they're typically called the Nielsen-Naylor Group. And the Nielsen-Naylor Group has also been called the Third Ward. So this is a schism. If you know the Warren Jeff Church, that's the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In the 80s, there was a schism that produced what's called the Second Ward. And they're located right down there in southern Utah, not too far from where the FLDS faith, in a place called Centennial Park. This is a breakoff from that community by two individuals, one named Ivan Nielsen and the other named, is it Ammon Naylor? You guys can correct me in the comments. This hymn book was put out. Ivan Nielsen's church was pretty small. It wasn't located too far from another church I'm going to tell you about, the church in Bluffdale of the Apostolic United Brethren, or the Allreds. But this was put out by the Nielsen Church, and I would say, maybe 100 people could fit in the room, but not much more, and maybe not that many. Nice service, great folks. They believed they were having new revelations. When I met Ivan Nielsen, he invited us to dinner afterwards and explained to me that they just had a revelation to build a temple. And one of the most interesting things about this, it wasn't a temple, it was maybe an endowment house, or maybe it was a temple. And he told me, if I understood him correctly, that the revelation was actually written by maybe God or an angel and left on this table. And I'm sitting in this room hearing this story, and then Ivan's son says, I believe it's his son, it could have been his grandson, says to him, Dad, did it have the mark on it? And then Ivan says to his son, of course it had the mark on it. How else would we know it was authentic? Now, I'm just a witness of this, right? What was going on in this room? I guess my point for Dr. Blythe's Lost Library is this is a pretty cool group. It's pretty interesting to see how they're operating. All right, let me tell you about this hymn book. This is a hymn book, and its major contribution to the literature is all of the spots where fundamentalists believe Latter-day Saints have removed controversial material from hymns have been re-added. And so, two easy examples. The first is Praise to the Man. And Praise to the Man, you might be aware, when it was first published in the Times and Seasons, had a line about Illinois. The line is, long shall his blood, which was shed by assassins, stain Illinois while the earth lauds his fame. That was removed, and in Ivan's book, it gets put back in. Later on, a hymn was written that is still in the Latter-day Saint hymn book, but has been modified. It's called Sons of Michael He Approaches. And in Ivan's version, which is actually the original, it says, Sons of Michael He approaches, rise the eternal Father greet. Bow ye thousands low before him, minister before his feet. And today, I believe it says, rise the ancient Father greet. The idea of Michael being the eternal Father is part of the Adam God theory, and of course, is no longer in Latter-day Saint hymn books. Adam God is one of the recurring themes in fundamentalist hymns, but this next one I'm going to show you is, of course, it has Sons of Michael He Approaches. This is the Apostolic United Brethren hymn book, and it includes a section. Hymn 2 is Adam Your God. Okay, we're not going to have that in a Latter-day Saint hymn book. I don't believe it actually ever was. There's Oh My Father by Eliza R. Snow, and now we have a hymn, tribute to Eliza R. Snow, and arranged by Stephen Foster, called "O My Mother," added to this hymn book. O my mother, my heart longest to again be by thy side, in the home I once called heaven, in thy mansion upon high. How you gave me words of counsel, guides to aid my straying feet. How you taught me by true example all of Father's laws to keep. 'Twas through love and truth and virtue, ere in time thou didst become, in thine high exalted station, mother of thy daughters and sons. While I strive in this probation well to live the gospel truths, may I merit your approval as I did in early youth. You once held me to your bosom, bade me a good child be. Then I came to this probation, hoping I would honor thee. When my pilgrimage is ended and the victor's crown is won, dearest mother, to your bosom, please welcome back this one. Of course, this is a companion hymn to "O My Father." I know it says Eliza R. Snow wrote the lyrics here. I don't know if that's actually true, but it certainly is a companion hymn. In this book is the traditional hymns of the Latter-day Saint faith, probably up until the early 1900s. It has some additional works added, and it also has some specific Apostolic United Brethren hymns added as well. This is "Wanted on the Other Side" by Charles W. Stainer. And who knows, it's possible I'm wrong and this was actually in the hymn book, but I'm not familiar with it. It says, "Oft when loved ones called to leave us, past the shining scenes beyond, wondering why they thus bereave us, plunge us into darkness despond. But with words most true and tender, someone whispers at our side, service he has gone to render, wanted on the other side. Wanted, yes, to preach salvation, visit friends long passed away, father, mother, dear relation, longer here he could not stay. While we mourn their welcomes greet him. Hail to one so nobly born, with what joy they flock to meet him, he for whom we mortals mourn. Cease your sobs, oh cease your weeping, in your Savior now confide. He is in the Lord's safe keeping, wanted on the other side." I love this. If this was in our hymn book before, we should bring it back. And if this is an Apostolic United Brethren hymn, that's pretty powerful, my friends. Here is the moment in which people are being invited back to, welcomed into the afterlife, which is pretty fantastic. All right, one final hymn book. This is "Hymns of the True and Living Church of Jesus Christ of Saints of the Last Days." And this hymn book is printed in Manti on March 20, 2000. This is a different tradition of fundamentalism. Some of its members came from this, but this was a movement that I told you about in the self-indigenization episode. Remember, it came from a community that initially imagined themselves creating a tribe, a native nation by which they would be both independent ecclesiastically as well as politically. So this is the Harmston group. In it, we have many of the traditional hymns. Sons of Michael, He Approaches is there. Father Adam, Hear Us Pray is there. The hymn I want to show you is Praise to the Man, which has additional verses. All right, here's Praise to the Man, which has an additional version at the end. And these are the verses to the alternative words written by Renee King. It says, "Praise to the man who communes with Jehovah. Jesus anointed that prophet and seer. Blessed to seal up the last dispensation. Kings shall extol him, and Israel revere. Isaiah, Joseph, then Seth, and Elijah, all have performed the labor God commands. Time after time he hath overcome sorrows, for when the dust falls, our hero shall stand. Often his life hath been cut short by cruelty. Witness to all that he passed through the flame. Know in the end he will stand pure and blameless. Heaven upholds him and justifies that man." You'll notice in verse 2, Isaiah, Joseph, then Seth, and Elijah. All have performed the labor God commands. And then the next one, often his life have been cut short by cruelty. Is this a reference to the fact that Jim Harmston claims to be Joseph Smith? I don't know if they say Joseph Smith was Seth and Elijah. That seems rather unlikely. But this third verse does suggest that Harmston, who is Joseph Smith, is being reincarnated multiple times here. Often his life has been cut short. Verse 4, leading to Jesus, he bids that we follow upon the path which is stony and hard. Flames will not harm you. His only desire is that we mold in the image of God. Verse 5, sacrifice brings forth the blessings of heaven as we pursue Christ, forsaking it all. Follow the prophet. He's proved as our leader. God has assured us he never will fall. Verse 6, when all the world shall be weighed in the balance, then of a truth we will know him at last. Servant and sufferer, his life he has given, for us a beacon in present and past. And this is the chorus that would go between each of those verses. Hail to our prophet, descended from heaven. Those who oppose him still fight him in vain. Mingling with gods he can plan for his brethren, ever and ever his priesthood sustain. So instead of death cannot conquer the hero again, we have his priesthood sustain. But the line that's so interesting they change is, instead of hail to the prophet ascended to heaven, now it's hail to our prophet descended from heaven. Obviously, when the hymn was originally written, it was intended to celebrate Joseph Smith's martyrdom. And now it's celebrating Joseph Smith incarnated once again in a system of reincarnation in the person of Jim Harmston. Jim Harmston died in 2014. The movement continues in a couple pieces in Manti, Utah, where he believed this last day city would be gathered. 3 hymn books. We definitely can talk about other hymn books and other hymns in the future, but I find these really interesting. And to be honest, I've always wanted to write an article about fundamentalist hymn books, but that's probably never going to happen. So I'm glad to be able to introduce you to them here. All right, my friends, join us later this week when we'll have another episode.